What's up, everybody? Piscean here, bringing you the Hitchhiker's Guide to Advanced Astrology, Quantum Dimensional Realities, and Soul Ego Embodying Human Puppets. Without further ado, let's get into it. But before we get started, I do appreciate if you like, subscribe, comment, share if you dare and care, with peace and love. Alright, so, a quick note here from the Interstellar Guides Editorial Collective. Hello, traveler. If you have previously perused our faculty's more terrestrial offerings, Advanced Astrology Research for Dummies, and its unapologetically xenophilic sequel, Exoastrology for Dummies, you will already be familiar with the idea that the universe is much, much larger than your average horoscope column in the back of a lifestyle magazine. You may even be a fully certified genius wizard astrologer, entitled to rearrange minor constellations and to look smug when Mercury goes retrograde. Good for you. But there is a further step. A step through the mirror. A step into the bit where the cosmos stops pretending it's a clockwork machine and starts behaving like a tipsy improv troupe, playing 12-dimensional charades with your soul. Now, this manual concerns quantum dimensional realities, the troubling discovery that you are essentially a puppet animated by a non-local soul, and the ways in which advanced astrology is not merely a map of the sky, but a user's manual for jumping between the stage sets of existence. The Hitchhiker's Guide, which this book is a proud and entirely legal offshoot of, give or take a few trillion parallel copyrights, has always maintained that the best way to survive the bewildering vastness of creation is to know where your towel is. Never take Vogon poetry seriously, and always carry a guide that tells you what's really going on. This is that guide. We will cover how your birth chart is actually a multidimensional transit map, why your ego is a marionette and your soul the puppeteer, and how to hitch a lift across quantum timelines with nothing more than a well-aspected Jupiter and a smattering of common sense. Let's read on, because the stars are no longer just above you, they're sideways, inside out, and occasionally a teapot. So first we have our table of contents. Chapter 0, before we begin, the real meaning of Don't Panic, the Hitchhiker's Astrologer's Toolkit, and what exactly is a human puppet, which I have talked about before. Anyways, first chapter, it's Quantum Dimensional Realities for the Astrologically Inclined. Superposition of signs, the many worlds ephemeris, probability clouds and house overlays, Schrodinger's cat cusp problem. Chapter 2 is the soul-ego puppet complex. Soul, the hand, ego, the sock. Natal promise and string tension, unraveling karmic knots with a comb of Venus. Chapter 3 is the holographic natal chart. Your chart is a fractal. Every planet contains all planets, midpoints as dimensional portals. How to fold your chart into a crane and fly. Chapter 4, Hitchhiking Through the Astral Plane, the Vogon Constructor Fleet and Malefic Transits. Lifts, never miss a trine again. The Towel of Celestial Invincibility. How to summon an astral ride with a Neptune-Venus whistle. Chapter 5 is Probability Transits and the Schrodinger's Horoscope. How retrogrades create branching timelines. The infinite moon void of course. Forecasting for the quantum waverer. The 6th, 12th house axis as wormholes. Chapter 6 is the Babelfish of Synchronicity. Universal Translation via Jupiter-Mercury, 1111, and the Asteroids of Coincidence. How to speak Venusian to get a discount. The Galactic Alphabet and your triplicities. Chapter 7 is Hitch a Ride on a Quantum Timeline. The Pole Signature spell. Using Progress Sun to shift phases. Jumping with lunar nodes as handles, parachuting with the fixed stars. Chapter 8 is Ethics of Soul Puppetry and Dimensional Trespassing. The puppeteer's read, consent across timelines, the hip pocket clause, and why you should never edit someone else's Saturn. Chapter 9 is the answer to life, the universe, and everything. Why 42 degrees of something is always significant, the deep meaning of midheaven arithmetic, 42 as the ultimate midpoint, and what the question actually was, astrologically speaking. Following, we have our appendices A. The towel, a multi-dimensional astrological tool. B. Key rituals for safe hitchhiking. And C. Quick reference table of quantum dimension correspondences. So, starting out with Chapter 0, before we begin, space is big, really big. You just won't believe how vastly, hugely, mind-bogglingly big it is. Now add in infinite parallel dimensions and a birth chart that exists in all of them simultaneously, and you might get a mild headache. Take an aspirin and don't panic. What exactly is a human puppet? What does that mean? In the standard model taught to apprentice wizards, a human being consists of 3 parts. The first is the body, the dense, skin-covered bit that keeps bumping into furniture. Second, we have the ego, the personality construct that thinks it's in charge. Third, we have the soul, the transcendent, eternal consciousness that is actually driving the bus. So the soul, however, cannot directly interface with the physical plane. It needs an ego hand puppet. The ego, in turn, requires a body vehicle. Astrology is a study of how the soul customizes its puppet for a particular incarnation. The natal chart being the pattern of strings, levers, and control rods. Advanced astrology, then, reveals how you can learn to operate the puppet from the puppeteer's perspective and occasionally swap strings with alternative puppets and parallel realities. This guide will show you how. First, we need to assemble the Hitchhiker's Astrologer's Toolkit. A few different things here. A towel, see Appendix A, which you will later on. Never leave your timeline without it. A multidimensional ephemeris, the faculty's infinite possibility almanac, updated every Planck second. A quantum collapsible astrolabe that can hold up to 12 dimension specific charts at once. A pinch of Uranian chutzpah, and a whole lot of Plutonian curiosity. First chapter is Quantum Dimensional Realities for the Astrologically Inclined. The guide has this to say about quantum dimensional realities. They are like a pack of tarot cards that have been spilled onto the floor by a hyperactive kitten in a zero-gravity environment. Nearly impossible to read, but deeply symbolic once you stop trying to make sense. The key principle is that every astrological configuration exists in a superposition. Your sun is in Virgo and in Pisces and in Carrot, a sign we haven't discovered yet, depending on which branch of the wave function you happen to be observing. For practical hitchhiking, however, we need to collapse some of these probabilities without losing the ability to explore them. Superposition of signs. Next time you're asked, what's your sign? Proudly answer all of them. Because in the many worlds interpretation, you've been born under every sign simultaneously. Your current dominant reality, it simply localizes to the one your soul selected to anchor this puppet. Advanced astrologers learn to tune to alternative sign expressions using harmonic charts and quantum tuned crystals. For instance, a 5th harmonic dial might flicker you briefly into the Virgo version of yourself, useful for tidying up chaotic spells. The many worlds ephemeris. Instead of looking up a planet's position for a single date, consult the mega ephemeris that shows all possibilities. It looks like a shimmering cloud of numbers. The trained eye can spot the highest probability groove, your home timeline, and also the most advantageous divergence for a specific goal. The guide recommends using a probability alembic, a fancy way of saying a dowsing rod charged with Uranian electricity. The Schrodinger's cat cusp problem. House cusps are notorious for being neither one sign nor another until observed. If your ascendant is poised at 29 degrees 59 of Leo, you are simultaneously a dramatic lion and a neat freak virgin. This liminality makes you a natural dimensional jumper. As you already exist in a perpetual state of maybe, embrace it. You're the perfect hitchhiker. Chapter 2 is the soul-ego puppet complex. The soul is the hand, the ego is the glove. Some people spend whole lifetimes waving at themselves and forgetting the hand inside. chapter on silly existential realizations. Your natal chart is a sewing pattern of the ego puppet. Each planet is a control point. So we see here, Sun is the mainstream that makes the puppet talk and claim it has a self. The Moon is the stuffing, emotional fluff that gives the puppet its reactive bounce. Mercury is the squeaky voice box. Venus is the attractor beam that makes other puppets want to hold hands. Mars is the motor that propels the puppet into fights and passionate embraces. Jupiter is the balloon that occasionally lifts the whole contraption into philosophical heights. Saturn is the wires of limitation teaching the puppet that gravity exists. Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto are transpersonal strings that connect your puppet to other puppet shows entirely, being collective, galactic, and divine. So to become a conscious puppeteer, i.e. to operate your human vehicle from soul awareness, you must study the tension between the inner and outer planets. Tension creates the illusion of free will. When Saturn squares your sun, the ego screams, "I can't," while the soul whispers, "You won't yet." Learn to listen to the whisper. Unraveling karmic knots with the comb of Venus. A standard spell uses a copper comb inscribed with the glyph of Venus. As you comb your hair or your aura, visualize the tangled cords of past life conditioning untangling. This brings the puppet into smoother alignment and prevents embarrassing tangled string incidents during dimensional jumps. Alright, chapter 3 is the holographic natal chart. A hologram is a pattern in which each part contains the whole. Your chart is exactly that. Every planet is not just in a sign and house, it implicitly contains the entire zodiac and all planetary energies. The fractal nature of astrology means you can take any degree, midpoint, or Arabic part and unfold it into a full-blown personal universe. Midpoints as dimensional portals. A midpoint between two planets is a point of perfect balance, a crack between the worlds. Activate a midpoint by lighting a candle exactly at the midpoint degree on your astrolabe. Reciting a verse of the Emerald Tablet in retrograde and stepping sideways, you will emerge in a reality where those two planetary principles are blended differently. Folding your chart. The ancient art of origami astrology is not just an art project. When you fold your printed natal wheel into a paper crane, you align the houses in a hyperdimensional geometry. The crane can then be flown across timelines carrying a message to your other selves. The guide notes that 90% of all successful interdimensional mail is delivered via paper crane, with the remaining 10% simply lost in Mercury retrograde. Right, chapter 4 is hitchhiking through the astral plane. The astral plane is the interdimensional highway system, complete with rest stops, traffic jams, courtesy of Saturn at rush hour, and a surprising number of roadside cafes serving imaginary espresso. As a hitchhiker, your goal is to move safely between destinations without getting picked up by a Vogon constructor fleet. That is a transit of Mars squaring Pluto. Lifts. The universal sign for I need an astral lift is to stand at the intersection of a trine and a sextile, extend your thumb, and radiate a frequency of eager benevolence. If Jupiter is transiting your 9th house, rides appear quickly. If Saturn is transiting your 3rd, you might be waiting a while. Bring a book. The towel of celestial invincibility, a towel, appendix A, can be draped over the head to block out harmful psychic interference, wrapped around the shoulders as a cape of charisma, or placed on the floor of a timeline to mark your spot. Never forget it. Summoning a ride with a Neptune-Venus whistle. Produce a whistle made of amethyst and rose quartz. Blow it in a sequence of 3 sending notes while picturing a chariot of light. A being of pure love and illusion will swerve over, offer you a dream, and drop you off somewhere interesting. Tip them in poetic verses. Chapter 5 is probability transits and the Schrodinger's horoscope. In a universe where the future is a smeared cloud of possible outcomes, a transit doesn't cause an event. It makes an event more or less likely to be observed by your particular ego puppet. A Pluto transit doesn't guarantee a crisis. It opens a box containing a live cat, a dead cat, and a cat that is simultaneously your grandmother. The infinite moon VOC. When the moon makes no major aspect before changing sign, it drifts into a probability limbo, where literally anything can happen and nothing is guaranteed. This is both a blessing and a curse. To use it for hitchhiking, stand perfectly still, announce your desired destination, and then let yourself be carried by the lunar tide. You'll end up roughly where you intended, give or take a continent. Forecasting for the quantum waverer. Use transits that are within 1 degree of exact to determine the collapse events. Transits at 2 through 3 degrees represent the parallel possibilities. A skilled astrologer advises not on what will happen, but on which timeline branch you might prefer and how to apply a small nudge. Usually a well-timed Mercury sextile and a firm decision. Chapter 6 is the Babel fish of synchronicity. In the dimensional wilds, languages multiply beyond sanity. Astrology provides the universal syntax. The Babel fish of the astrological world is the synchronicity that connects inner meeting to outer event. Once you grok it, everything speaks. Jupiter-Mercury translation protocols. When Jupiter and Mercury are in harmonious aspect, place a small shimmering fish symbol crafted from tin and quicksilver in your ear. You will instantly understand the cosmic chatter. The birds will give you stock tips, the wind will recite rumai, and your toaster will hum your natal chart's secret mode of wisdom. 1111 and the asteroids of coincidence. Seeing 1111 repeatedly, that's the asteroid angel conjunct the asteroid Ganesha in your 11th house of hopes and wishes. Ask the universe for a ride at precisely 1111 and you might get one. Alright, Chapter 7, Hitch a Ride on a Quantum Timeline. Now the practical bit, actually jumping. We have the pulse signature spell. Your astrological signature, being the sun, moon, ascendant degree, emits a unique quantum pulse. To shift timelines, you must match your pulsation to that of a distant reality. Use the following incantation with a tuning fork set to the frequency of your ascendant. By this degree and this light, I tune to the branch where intention is bright. Visualize the alternate you acting out the desired scenario. The guide warns that you may experience brief disorientation, loss of ego, or a strong craving for peanuts. Ignore the last unless you're allergic. Using progress sun to shift phases. Your progress sun moves 1 degree per year, changing signs every 30 years. This is a natural dimensional drift. To accelerate it, perform a ritual at your secondary progress lunar return, lighting a candle for every degree you wish to advance. You can temporally skip to a future self, glimpse its pupid puppet configuration. Yes, its putrid puppet configuration, and bring back souvenirs of wisdom. That's the goal, right? Quantum leaps. Parachuting with the fixed stars. Fixed stars are anchor points across dimensions. Visualize a silk parachute woven from the light of Spica, strength, Arcturus, guidance, and Polaris, direction. When you jump, this parachute will guide you away from black hole timelines and toward ones filled with delightfully improbable good fortune. Alright, Chapter 8 is Ethics of Soul Puppetry and Dimensional Trespassing. So just because you can pop into a parallel reality and live as an alternative you, it doesn't mean you should do it. The guide says, a hitchhiker who overstays their welcome in another's timeline is technically a kind of karmic squatter, and the multiverse has a zero-tolerance policy on that kind of thing. Puppeteers read, never cut another puppet's strings without invitation. Permission must be soul to soul. Do not hijack an alternate self's body for a joyride. It's their incarnation. You are a guest in your own parallel life. Observation changes the observed. If you peek into a future and don't like it, you have already altered its probability. Take responsibility. Consent across timelines. Always ask through a meditative soul link. The alternate you will likely be grumpy if you show up unannounced. Knock first. The astrological symbol for a knock is a grand trine in air signs. Use it as a permission chime. The hip pocket clause. You are permitted to borrow items from another timeline. A lucky charm, a crucial insight, so long as you return them within 1 lunar cycle. Time loss items cause dimensional paradoxes that look to the untrained eye, like tax audits and awkward silences. Right, Chapter 9. The answer to life, the universe, and everything. Deep thought computed, the answer is 42. This is no coincidence. 42 degrees of arc is exactly 14 degrees of Taurus, since each sign is 30 degrees. 14 degrees Taurus is the exaltation degree of the moon, the seat of deep comfort, and the midpoint of the zodiac if you count from 0 degrees Aries in a very special way. That only works if you have a tell. Furthermore, the Sumerian sexagesimal system, the degrees in a circle, and the number of chromosomes in the common banana all point to the same conclusion, 42 is the ultimate astrological constant. Why 42 degrees of something is always significant. A planet at 12 degrees of a fixed sign, that's 42 degrees from the equinox. The 42nd harmonic reveals the secret structure of joy. When your sun reaches 42 degrees on a secondary progression scale, you have a midlife awakening that makes you realize the question was never what should I do, but how can I serve the cosmic giggle? The deep meaning of midheaven arithmetic. So the midheaven, or MC, is roughly 42 degrees in right ascension for many humans born around the 42nd parallel. Coincidence? The guide thinks not. In the end, the question to which 42 is the answer was revealed by the pack the Earthman to be, where is the best place to get a decent cup of tea in a multi-dimensional omniverse? Astrologically, that place is wherever your Venus is well aspected. So look to your chart, find your Venus, and go there. Have a cup. And always know where your towel is. Alright, appendices. Appendix A is the towel, a multidimensional astrological tool. A towel has immense practical value in any dimension. For the astrological hitchhiker, the towel is a portable altar, a ground sheet for casting charts, a protective aura screen, and a device for wiping condensation off the astrolabes. The best towels are woven from the threads of lunar eclipses and dyed with the 7 planetary colors. If yours is Egyptian cotton, that's fine too, just don't panic. So we have a ritual for empowering a towel. Wash in water infused with planetary rays on the day of Jupiter. Dry under a full moon while chanting the names of the 12 signs backwards. Fold into a perfect square. Visualize the square as a foundation of reality and keep it in a satchel at all times. Appendix B is key rituals for safe hitchhiking. The harmless hexagram. Cast a hexagram of white light around yourself before any jump. It ensures you're invisible to trouble. The Babel fish ear implant. Meditative. Envision a tiny fish of light swimming into your right ear, granting you fluency in symbolic language. The 42-second grounding count. After returning from a jump, count slowly to 42, naming a fixed star at each count. This re-anchors your consciousness to your home timeline. We have Appendix C, which is a quick reference table of quantum dimension correspondences. So we see our dimension layer. We see our astrological ruler. We also see the puppet foundation. And then we see a hitchhiking tip. Maybe we'll use green here. So 3D physical, Saturn, body vehicle, walk, don't run, gravity is real. 4D astro, Jupiter, Neptune, ego, dreams, emotion, swipe right on parallel selves carefully. 5D causal, Uranus, soul patterns, change your chart by shifting perspective. 6D Akashic, Pluto, record of all puppets, read but don't erase without cosmic approval. And 7D, in other dimensions, quantum, all simultaneously, the puppeteer's lounge, have a cup of tea, and relax. All right. Now, we have the Advanced Astrology Night Train School, which is the interdimensional compendium of celestial arts for wizards who never sleep. Considering, as I'm filming this, it is now 7:10 in the morning, and I've been up since like 5, maybe 4. Fell asleep early. So, what we would do is go over a few different things. Like, I have my table of contents in most of my videos, so I can have everything listed out, like step by step what I need to talk about. First, the night train itself is a mobile academy of all skies. Second, we have the fundamentals of universal astrology, including the primal sky, archetypal number, and the 5 geometric essences. A global compendium of astrological traditions with study bullet points, Western tropical from Babylon to transpersonal, Jyotish, the Vedic eye of the Veda, Chinese astrology by Zhi Daoshu and the lunar mansions, Tibetan astrology, Kartsi and Naxi, Mayan and Mesoamerican day count systems, Egyptian decanic and temple astrology, Uranian astrology and cosmobiology, harmonic astrology as universal translator, horary, electional, and mundane methods. Origins and history, the great diaspora of stargazers, core concepts unifying the traditions, such as the quadruplicities and triplicities, yin-yang and modality, sidereal versus tropical, lunar mansions of the world, nakshatras, Zyu, Manazil, planetary joys, rulerships, and the themolion. Multiple forms of chart interpretation, hands-on methods, step-by-step delineation sequences for each system, as well as case studies here. The first is the birth of a prophet, comparative multi-tradition analysis, and then we're going to go over the fall of a dynasty, mundane event through 4 lenses. Advanced techniques and theoretical integration, dashas for Daria and zodiacal releasing, the vertex, black moon, Lilith, and the lots in global context, synastry and composite across traditions, harmonic age points, and intersystem conversions. Bridging ancient and modern theories, fate, free will, and the parallax of prediction, karma, reincarnation, and the astrological imprint, the noetic chart, a quantum soul model, working materials for the night trained scholar, recommended ephemerides and software, the essential grimoire shelf by tradition, astrological magic across tradition ritual toolkit. In chapter 10 is the night train itself, carriages, faculty, and a final exam. Beginning with chapter 1 here, the night train itself, a mobile academy of all skies. The night train departs from platform 0 degrees Aries at the moment the vernal equinox sun touches the midheaven of the observatory car. Its motive power is supplied not by coal, but by continuous rectification of the sidereal zodiac against the galactic center. Each carriage is a self-contained astrological dojo. We have carriage 1, which is the tropical salon, going over Hellenistic, medieval, and modern. Carriage 2 is the Vedic Vaimanika, Jyotish with attached nakshatra arboretum. Carriage 3 is the pavilion of the 5 elements, Chinese Bazi and Zaiwi. Carriage 4 is the Mayan time chamber, Zolkin Loom, dream spell circle. Carriage 5 is the Iranian observatory, dial-based midpoint work. Carriage 6 is the harmonic laboratory, sound charts, cymatics. Carriage 7 is the library of all skies, cross-reference ephemeris of 144 systems. Observation dome for live scrying of fixed stars with telescopes that pierce the veil of time. Conductors include the spirits of historical astrologers who failed to grasp one crucial technique and are now condemned to teach it forever. A delightful crew. Chapter 2 is fundamentals of universal astrology. So before embarking on the traditions, we must establish the primal grammar that underlies them all. Every astrological system, regardless of culture, encodes the same core perceptions. You see the primal sky. Humans looked up and observed the horizon, ascendant, descendant, the division of above, below, self, other. The meridian, MCIC, the division of noon, midnight, public, private. The diurnal motion, the eternal wheel of rising, culminating, setting. The zodiacal band, the path of the wanderers, planets, against the fixed stars. These 4 pillars are the themelion foundation of all subsequent astrology. Archetypal number 12 appears everywhere. Signs, houses, months, branches, tribes. It is 3 multiplied by 4. The dynamic modality times the elemental temperament. 7 is the visible planetary count. Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, mirrored in days of the week, metals, chakras, and tones. 9, 3 multiplied by 3, is the number of harmonic perfection. Navamsha, the ninth harmonic, is universal in Indian astrology. Many traditions use ninefold divisions. 28. Approximate lunar cycle. Generates the lunar mansions. 28 Indian nakshatras, 28 Chinese Yu, actually 28, and 28 Arabic Manazil, 28 in certain European lists. The 5 geometric essences. All astrology is a geometry of time. We see this with, aspects. Conjunction at 0 degrees, unity, seed. Opposition, 180 degrees, polarity, projection. Trine, 120 degrees, flow, ease, fire, air, grand trines. Square, 90 degrees, friction, manifestation, earth cross. Sextile, 60 degrees, opportunity, communication. Every tradition recognizes these angular relationships, though they may name them differently. The Chinese call the 120 degrees relationship harmonious alliance, and the square punishment or clash. Chapter 3 is a global compendium of astrological traditions. So here follows structure study bullet points for each major system. A night-trained apprentice is expected to be proficient in at least 3. First off, we are going to go over Western tropical astrology. We see its origins here, from Babylonian omen lore to Hellenistic synthesis, medieval Arabic transmission, Renaissance, modern psychological evolutionary. We have our core study points: the tropical zodiac, 12 signs from Aries to Pisces, tied to the vernal equinox, not fixed stars. Sizes vary due to precession, but signs are equal, 30-degree sectors. Hellenistic techniques, whole sign houses, lots, the POF, spirits, the Eros, etc. Time Lord systems, zodiacal releasing, decennials, Fredaria, sect, diurnal, nocturnal, bounds, terms, planetary joys. Medieval Arabic editions, extensive use of lots, lunar mansions, manazil, electional rules, horary, mashallah, sal, boneti. Renaissance magic, planetary talismans, picatrix, fixed star magic, Agrippa's 3 books of occult philosophy, theurgical election. Modern psychological, Carl Jung's archetypes, Dane Rudar's humanistic astrology, Liz Green's psychological complexes, Howard Sasporta's developmental model. Evolutionary astrology, nodes of the moon as past, future life indicators, and Pluto as soul's evolutionary intent, skip steps, karmic signatures. Key techniques: planetary dignity, the domicile, exaltation, triplicity, term, and face. Transits, secondary progressions, solar arc directions. Solar returns and lunar returns, midpoint structures, cosmobiology, Uranian. Harmonic charts, John Addy. Chart interpretation sequence, Western modern. Determine the sect, sun above the horizon is diurnal, below is nocturnal. Assess the sun, moon, and ascendant ruler, the triad of vitality, emotion, and propulsion. Evaluate the moon's phase and applying aspect. Read the houses containing benefics, malefics, note angularity. Overlay aspect patterns, T-square, grand trine, yod. Check the nodal axes for life direction. Integrate transits and secondary progressions for timing. Right, so on to Jyotish, the Vedic eye. Origins: Vedangas, Parashara, Jaimini, Tajika, Persian influence. Sidereal zodiac, lunar centric. So our core study points: sidereal zodiac, which is Narayana, linked to fixed stars using Lahiri, Ayanamsha, or Raman, etc. signs, correspond to constellations. Nakshatras, 27 or 28 lunar mansions, each 13 degrees 20. They are the soul of Vedic astrology. Each has a planetary ruler, deity, symbol, and quality. So for example, Ashwini, 0 degrees through 13 degrees 20 Aries, ruled by Ketu, deity Ashwini Kumaras, horse-headed physicians, symbol horsehead, crucial for personality, compatibility, and muhurta, election. Dashas, planetary periods. The Vimshottari Dasha system, 120 years, is the primary timing method. Sequence is Ketu, Venus, Sun, Moon, Mars, Rahu, Jupiter, Saturn, Mercury. Each dash has subperiods. There are also yogini dashas, Kala Chakra, etc. Vargas, divisional charts. Vedic astrology uniquely uses 16 and more harmonic charts. Show Dasha Varga, but we do have key ones, such as D1 Razi, which is body, basic personality. D9 Navamsha, Dharma, marriage, inner strength, Jupiter's echo. D10 Dashamsha, career karma. D7 Saptamsha, children, creativity. D60 is Shastyamsha, past life karma. Grahas are planets with unique meanings. Rahu, the north node, and Ketu, the south node, are shadow planets as critical as visible planets. They cause eclipses, obsessions, and karmic nodes. Yoga's planetary combinations, special patterns that override basic dignities. So, for example, Gasha Kisara Yoga, Jupiter and Kendra from Moon, gives wisdom and reputation, while Panch Mahapurusha Yogas, Mars, Mercury, Jupiter, Venus, Saturn, in the own sign or exalted in the Kendra, produce 5 great personalities. Charakaraka, 7 temporal significators based on degrees of planets. Amakaraka is the soul. Amatyakaraka is the career, etc. And our technique is Vimshotari Dasha interpretation. Identify the birth nakshatra of the moon, which determines the starting dasha. Read the current major period, Mahadasha Lord, its house placement, yogas, and strength. Refine with Antardasha, sub-period Lord's placement relative to Mahadasha Lord. Overlay Goshara, transits from the moon and from the Mahadasha Lord. Use the Navamsha for deeper relationship and spiritual insight. And Chinese astrology. Beizi and Zaiwei Daoshu. The origins being Shang Dynasty Oracle Bones, Han Dynasty Synthesis, Tang Dynasty Systemization. So core study points Beizi, 4 pillars of destiny. Based on the year, month, day, and hour of birth. Each pillar has a heavenly stem, 10, and an earthly branch, 12 animal signs. So birth yields 8 characters, Beizi. 10 heavenly stems, Yang wood, Yin wood, Yang fire, Yang earth, Yang metal, Yang water, Yin water. They combine, clash, produce, and control. 12 earthly branches, rat, ox, tiger, rabbit, dragon, snake, horse, goat, monkey, rooster, dog, pig. They have hidden stems, directions, seasons, and hours. 5 elements theory, wood, fire, earth, metal, water, interact in generating, Sheng, and controlling, Qi, cycles. Daymaster, the heavenly stem of the day pillar is a self, similar to the ascendant ruler. Analysis balances elements around the Daymaster, strong, weak, favorable elements. 10 gods, Shen, relationships of other stems to the Daymaster, friend, rob wealth, output, herding officer, proper wealth, improper wealth, proper authority, killing authority, proper resource, improper resource. These function like houses and planets describing career, wealth, spouse, etc. Classes, combinations, harms, punishments, destruction. Relations between earthly branches that foretell events. Core study points, Zaiwei Dao Shu, Purple Star Astrology. A chart of 12 palaces, life, siblings, spouse, children, wealth, health, travel, friends, career, property, fortune, parents. Over 100 stars placed in these places based on birth data in the lunar calendar. The leading star is Zaiwei, Emperor Star, whose position determines the chart pattern. Uses a fixed earthly balance for each palace based on birth month and hour, then deploys stars according to complex rules. Interpretation blends the meaning of the palace, the star, auxiliary stars, and transformations Hua Lu, Hua Quan, Hua Qi, Hua Ji, the 4 transformers. Study bullet points. Construct a Beizi chart and a Zaiwei chart for the same person. They are complementary. Beizi is for elemental balance and life path, while Zaiwei is for situational palaces and relationship dynamics. Learn the 60 Jia Z cycle, sexagenary cycle, relating stems and branches. Examine the luck pillars, 10-year cycles in Beizi. Each pillar follows from month branch with gender-dependent direction. Case example is a person born Jia, Ying wood in spring, strong wood. Favorable element is metal to carve and fire to express. Wealth indicated by earth. Tibetan astrology, Kartsi and Naxi. Origins, synthesis of Indian, Chinese, and Bon traditions, systematized in the Kalachakra Tantra. So Kartsi, white astrology, from India, similar to Vedic, sidereal zodiac uses nakshatras, planetary periods, and a distinct system of 28 lunar mansions. Naxi, black astrology, from China, the elemental cycle of the 5 elements with 12 animals, the Miwa, 9 magic numbers, and Parka, 8 trigrams, combines Bazi-like calculations into a specific protective and medical astrology. Miwa, the 9 numbers, a 3x3 magic square of numbers, 1 to 9, each with an element, color, direction. Birth year determines a Miwa, which cycles. Parka, 8 trigrams from the I Ching, used for geometric and yearly analysis. The turtle diagram, a base for geometric and medical charts. Calendar and almanac, Tibetan astrology is heavily practical. Daily advice, marriage compatibility, medical treatment timing, death and rebirth interval calculation. Study points. Learn to calculate the Srog, life force, Lu, health, Wang Thang, power, and Lungta, fortune, for a given year. Examine the role of the La, soul, in medical astrology. Different body parts are governed by the Law's daily placement. Mayan and Mesoamerican day count systems. Origins are Olmec, Zapotec, Classic Maya, codified in the Dresden Codex. Tzolk'in, which is 260-day sacred calendar, 20-day signs, combined with numbers 1 through 13. The cycle defines personality and destiny. Your birth sign and number is your galactic signature. Hey, 365-day solar calendar, 18 months of 20 days and adding 5-day Wayeb. Together with Tzolk'in gives the calendar around 52 days. 52 years, not 52 days. Alright, and we have our long count, which is historical dating, but also cycles of creation. Day sign interpretation. Each day sign has a direction, element, fire, earth, air, water, maize, animal guide, and specific psychological traits. For example, one ibex crocodile is a primordial beginning, nurturing, deep. The Dream Spell, a modern recasting by Jose Arguelles using a 13-moon calendar, though purists separate it from academic Mayanism. Still, it's a influential astrological system for many. Galactic signature, combination of destiny kin, Tzolk'in sign and tone, adding 13 tones representing creation sequence, magnetic, lunar, electric, self-existing, etc. Study points. Construct a 52-year personal calendar of Tzolk'in days, identifying repeating patterns. Overlay the day sign interpretation with your Western or Vedic chart to discover archetypal correlations. For example, Ahau equals Sun, Sanmei equals Pluto, etc. In a case, a person born 8 Kebin, Earth, may have strong Earth element emphasis in Chinese Bazi. Alright, a few more to go over. Egyptian Decanic and Temple Astrology, the origins being Old Kingdom star clocks, Ptolemaic era, and Dendera zodiac. The 36 decans. Each decan rules 10 degrees of the zodiac, associated with specific deities, hours, and medical parts. They predated the 12-sign zodiac. Each decan had a heliacal rising period used for nightly timekeeping. The decans became the faces of the planets in Hellenistic astrology, each group of 3 assigned to a planet by triplicity. The Egyptian calendar had 12 months of 30 days, plus 5 epagomenal days, each under influence of a god. The Dendera zodiac is a circular planisphere mixing Egyptian and Ptolemaic elements. Astrological texts like the Book of Nut and the Ramesside star clocks. Osiris and the moon, Isis and Sirius, Subdet, the heliacal rising of Sirius marked the new year, and flood. For study points, reconstruct the decanic chart for a native using Hellenistic faces and their Egyptian mythic overlays. Use the Egyptian 36 decans as a form of tarot-like divination system. Each decan has a corresponding god, color, stone. Alright, Uranian astrology, cosmobiology. Origins are the Hamburg School, or Alfred White, cosmobiology, Reinhold Eberton. So, Uranian astrology uses 8 hypothetical planets: Cupido, Hades, Zeus, Kronos, Apollon, Admetos, Vulcanus, Poseidon, with precisely defined meanings based on extensive research. Emphasis on midpoints, sensitive points of health sum between 2 planets, often more important than natal planet positions. Dial graphic. 90 degrees dial allows clear reading of symmetrical structures. Planetary picture involving A adding B subtracting C equals D is a major event formula. Cosmobiology restricts to known planets, uses 90 degrees dial, rigid 22 degrees 30 houses. Focus on biological and psychological correspondences. Key formulas: Venus-Neptune equals artistic talent, Mars-Saturn equals frustration, pathology, Sun-Jupiter equals success. Our study points: erect a 90 degrees dial chart for a case study and locate all personal points on the outer ring. Identify the midpoint structure for sudden wealth, for example, Jupiter-Uranus equals Venus-Pluto, and use a cosmobiological method for medical astrological diagnosis. So Saturn-Neptune equals chronic weakness, Mars-Neptune equals infection, etc. Harmonic astrology as universal translator, with the origins being John Addy, based on Pythagorean principles. Gosh. So every aspect is a harmonic fraction of the circle. The 5th harmonic, being a quintile 72 degrees, is the creative impulse. 7th harmonic, which is a septile 51 degrees 25, is inspiration and destiny. 9th harmonic is joy and spiritual integration. By erecting a harmonic chart, multiplying each planetary longitude by the harmonic number, you create a wheel where the harmonic aspect becomes the conjunction revealing the theme. Harmonic charts can bridge traditions. The Navamsha D9 is the 9th harmonic chart of the sidereal zodiac. Chinese 12 branches can be seen as a 12th harmonic overlay of a 60-fold cycle. Harmonics provide the universal metric. Create harmonic charts for the 1st through 12th harmonics, noting the pattern. Analyze the age harmonic progression. Each year adds 1 harmonic increment. Use harmonic comparison to translate Vedic Navamsha to Western symbolic terms. A strong 9th harmonic sun indicates Dharma alignment. Right. Horary, electional, and mundane addendum. So, horary astrology, the art of answering a question by casting a chart for the moment of understanding. It's universal: Indian prasna, Chinese divination charts, Western rigorous methods, Lilly's Christian astrology, includes strictures against judgment. For example, Saturn in the 7th, unless astrologer. Electional astrology, choosing an auspicious time, Muhurta and Vedic, combining nakshatra, Tithi, Yoga, Karana, and Panchanga. Chinese day selection, Tong Shu, Western planetary hours, lunar mansions, planetary dignity. Mundane astrology, ingress charts, eclipses, great conjunctions, Saturn-Jupiter for epochal shifts, Jupiter-Saturn cycle in all traditions, Vedic 60-year cycle, Chinese sexagenary, Western historical cycles. Chapter 4 is Origins and History, the Great Diaspora of Stargazers. We're going to give a brief timeline for the Night Train Scholar. So, circa 3000 BCE, Mesopotamian starless, Venus tablet of Amisa-Duca, omen-based astrology. Circa 1500 BCE, Egyptian deacons, megalithic European alignments. Circa 1000 BCE, Vedic Jyotish roots, Vedanga Jyotisha. Circa 6th century BCE, Babylonian zodiac of 12 signs, first horoscopes. Circa 2nd century BCE, Hellenistic synthesis, Hermetic texts, Nichipso Pithosiris, creation of houses, lots, time lords, foundation of all Western. Circa 2nd century CE, Ptolemy's Tetrabiblos, consolidation, transmission to Persia, India, Yavana Jataka. Circa 7th through 9th century, Golden Age of Islam, translation and enrichment, horary, and electional perfection. Circa 12th century, transmission to Latin Europe. Circa 17th century, William Lilly, last flowering before mechanistic cosmology. And we see circa 20th century here, revival, Alan Leo, Jung, Ruder, psychological, harmonic, Uranian, and eventual New Age synthesis. So simultaneously, Chinese and Mesoamerican astrology develop along parallel but independent lines, with occasional cross-pollination. Buddhist astronomy into Tibet, later Western into East Asia. Night Train's library holds manuscripts evidencing a lost crossroads culture, The Terran Basin were Hellenistic and Chinese techniques briefly hybridized. The faculty is still deciphering them. Chapter 5 is core concepts unifying the traditions. Though the signs differ, certain structural universals recur. Quadruplicities and triplicities, modalities and elements. All zodiacs partition the circle into 4 and 3. Quadruplicities, cardinal, initiation, fixed, sustain, mutable, adapt. In Chinese, these parallel the dynamic of clashing, storing, and transitional branches. Triplicities, fire, earth, air, water. Chinese has its own 5 elements, but the 3 harmonies of branches form elemental triangles. Yin-yang and sect. Every tradition has a binary division, day-night, masculine-feminine, active-passive. Chinese yin-yang is explicit, Western sect, Indian benefic, malefic biphasing. Right, and then we go over the lunar mansions across cultures, a table for your notes. Okay, so with Ashwini, we see it's the horn, Al-Sharatan, B. Aretes. Bharani is the neck, Al-Butane, 35 Aretes. Kritika is the root, Al-Thuraya, Pleiades. Rokini is room, Al-Dabaran, Aldebaran. So, the Chinese Yu are 28 asterisms along the lunar path. Used in Chinese astrology and Zaiwei, they are unequal. The Night Train teaches that all 28 mansion systems descend from a common origin, or convergent observation of the same sky. Planetary dignities and joys. The joy of each planet in a house: Sun in the 9th, Moon in the 3rd, Mercury in the 1st, Venus in 5th, Mars in 6th, Jupiter in 11th, Saturn in 12th. Reflects a deep psychological architecture that finds parallel in the Chinese 12 palace system, where certain stars naturally rejoice and certain palaces.